Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Alex from Computer Headquarters, and I'm going to just show you something that I think a lot of people will find interesting. Over the years, we've done business with a lot of different people that are involved in the mining world, and I know a lot of you are probably like, oh, you're probably hissing at me right now through the computer, like those dirty miners, they're so bad or whatever, and crypto's bad and blah, blah, blah. A lot of people have strong negative emotions about it, and I personally am just more neutral on the whole thing. Business is business. If people want to buy video cards from us, then they're going to use them for mining. They can do, we can't control what people do with the products that we sell. And if the market is upside down because they're buying them, all we can do is try to adjust so that all of a sudden we have to pay more, which sucks. We have to pay more for the video cards that we do get, and we have to sell them for more. But the bottom line for a business, we have to be able to make money. And so we have to be able to buy them at a price where we can sell it for more. Whether that's the price that we pay is over MSRP or below MSRP, the market determines that. So anyway, my rant about that is over. And over the years, we've had some mining companies that, or just maybe it was a customer who bought a couple hundred video cards from us in one shot to do mining, and then they quit mining and they want to sell them back. We've had a lot of that happen, and that's been pretty good. But this is a much bigger thing. We've never had a really large mining operation offer us anything, and this is the first time that's happened. And this came from, it went through a couple of brokers, but there was a mining company on the East Coast that had, I think they have 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 rigs. I don't know how many it is. It's a lot. And we bought about 100 of them 100 rigs from them as like a trial run, and each rig has 8 video cards. So, do the math. We're talking about 1,000 video cards in these, and also really nice power supplies come in these. They're EVGA 1600 G2. These are great power supplies, and if they're still running, which they all are, then they're built really well, and you would, in my opinion, don't have to be worried about it just breaking all of a sudden, because these things, talk about stress testing, a power supply. Running 8 video cards for years is quite the stress test. So if they're still running right now, the chances of them running later with one video card, very high. Anyway, moving on. This video is mostly because this is an unusual situation. I haven't run into something quite like this before. We had a sample come in of these, they're like servers kind of, right? These chassis, these rigs are kind of like a server. We had a sample sent to us. It looked good from a very reputable supplier that we've done a lot of business with. And, it had these RX 580s in them. They were really nice. Everything worked. Everything was great, nice and clean. And then, so we ordered, the sample of 6 pallets of them. There's about 100 and something total rigs. And they're super, super gross. They're very rusty. So I'm going to get closer here. See if you can see all that surface rust on this fan grill. Very rusty. The seller, the miner, I should say, I think he wasn't aware of how bad his stuff was, because when you're mining, you're not doing any video out, right? The cards are not doing any video. Everything's over a network. You're talking to it over a network through a server or through an IP connection. So it's something you would never really know if the video outs don't work. And here's a video card that came out of one of the rusty servers here. And you can see all the surface rust on the video ports. In fact, this one probably isn't even one of the worst ones. The worst ones have like bugs in them. So after talking to the broker a little bit more, it sounds like these were outdoors, and they weren't actually outdoors, but they were some of these were in containers that were outdoors. So there were filtering systems with airflow going through the container, but depending on the weather of where you live, there could still be there's humidity. There could be a lot of water that could still get through filters and get into the container, and the container could get damp, and the servers could get damp. And sure enough, we've got some cards that look like this, where it's like, okay, that's just, it's dusty. We can blow it out with an air blow compressor. We could, depending on how it performs, we could take the cooler off and redo the thermal paste, and it will be great again. And if it's been running for however many years, it's probably going to keep running for a long time because it's been through the paces. But there are, unfortunately, there are not very many that look like this. There are a lot more that look like these, that are all rusted. And almost 99% of the time that we throw a card like this onto our test benches, they work perfectly well. They're great. 99% of the time we put one of these on, it does not work at all. There's no video output. The ports on these cards have been decayed, basically. They've been eroded beyond repair. I think, well, I say beyond repair. I guess that's not true. They can be replaced to be repaired. So I think that if the cards seem to boot up and the computer thinks it's in Windows, it's not giving any error about failure, really, about like a video, like the GPU seems like it's working. But the ports are bad. So I think if someone were to invest a lot of money into these, they could buy replacement ports and take these ports off and solder new ones on, and it would probably work again. But I mean, we're not going to do that. That's a lot of work when you're talking about thousands of video cards and replacing ports. Like that needs to go to a factory to do some work like that. Anyway, just a little bit disappointing for us. Not really what we were expecting. We will be selling some of these cards, and we're selling them as like a grade B, basically, at a really good price too. An RX 580 is still a great gaming video card, and you know, there's going to be selling for, I don't remember exactly what it's basically whatever the market is, and then a little bit lower. So probably in the low 100s, maybe even $100. That's such a good value these days for what it can do. It's an older card, but it's still, you can get a pretty good FPS in a lot of games with an RX 580, and it only takes 1 8-pin, so you don't need a crazy power supply to run it. I wanted to see if I could show you any of the really unusual cards, that the dirtiest of the dirty is what I'm getting at. So I'm going to look at a couple of these. There are some that just have so many bugs in them. There was a huge beetle we saw spiders, like dead carcasses usually. We saw ladybugs. Let's see if there's anything down here. No. And then there was one server where it was just covered in disgusting bugs and stuff. But unfortunately, what we've had to do is talk to the supplier and let them know that this isn't really what we ordered, and most of it's going to have to be returned. And we've kind of already came to the conclusion that if we see the surface rust on this fan grill, that we already know that all the cards inside are going to be rusty. So it's saving us some time there, but almost all of them are like that. There have been a few where we see that the fan grill is not rusty, and then we know, okay, the inside's then the card's gonna look like that, and it's gonna be fine, and the power supply is gonna look like this one where it's nice, and everything works, and we're all good. But yeah, unfortunately, I think there's only like 20 or less out of 100 and something that are not rusty. So kind of disappointing, but before I end the video, I figured some guys might want to see, some people, guys or gals, might want to see the inside of one of these, because they are interesting. Oh, I thought this had the screws out. Let me see if I can find one over here that doesn't have screws in it. I will get a screwdriver. Doing this with one hand. So this one was just missing one screw. It tricked me. Okay, so we took the video cards out of this one already. And, oh yeah, see this one? See how the fan grills aren't rusty? So that's why we took the cards out. But this is a good example to show you of what we're looking at. So this is the motherboard. It's a proprietary motherboard. It's pretty cool, honestly. So you can see, if I move these cables out of the way a little bit, very dusty in here. But this is made by ASRock, and it has 8 PCIe X16 full-size slots, and the slots have their own Molex power coming to them to give them the supplementary power, because a PCI Express X16 slot is supposed to provide up to 75 watts of power. So if a lot of those, I don't know if you've seen those mining risers, but they have their own power on them. That's just to make sure the card's getting an adequate amount of power from the actual slot. And if you don't give it enough power, you can have some pretty bad problems. So anyway, this is a proprietary motherboard, as I mentioned. We're going to have these for sale as well. It has a Celeron, I think it's like a J3405 or something like that processor built into the motherboard. So that's this heatsink right here with a little fan. It barely uses any power, just sips power. And then you can see there's an 8-pin connection here for the CPU, EPS, and there's a 24-pin here for the motherboard. And then there's a 4 gig stick of RAM that will come with these motherboards as well, and no SSD. And that's pretty much it. So interesting. It's got these really high flow server fans. I think 7 total fans, 1, 2, 3 on this side, 4 on that side. And then this side I think is the intake, and this is the exhaust. So it's actually a really good setup, very industrial, very heavy duty, and works really, really well. But yeah, the rusty ones are no good. Anyway, I just thought some people would find this interesting because it's kind of different than your everyday computer stuff that you see. And hopefully not too many of you are just mad because I'm talking about mining. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.